Hello and welcome to What We're Watching. It's Katherine.
And Liz.
And Ed.
And John.
So I'm going to start with Abbott Elementary is back. Yes. I'm so excited.
You're going to start by going back to school?
What? It's probably the best school experience I've ever had. I don't know.
Geez.
It's adorable.
You were dyslexic, so.
I mean, that's true. There was a lot of traumatizing school things. Being dyslexic was not fantastic.
And Catholic school, too.
Yeah, it was a double whammy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and the daughter of a teacher by high school, so that's got to be the wrong vibe, right?
I didn't realize we were going to go through my whole memory lane of school trauma.
I mean, both of our parents were private school teachers at different points in their lives.
Yeah. We didn't ever have mom because mom was...
Oh, God, could you imagine?
No.
John, you didn't have her when you went to grade school with the same school.
No. I only went to kindergarten at that school with her, and she was not the kindergarten teacher.
Whoosh. Escape that.
Yeah.
Because she was a tough teacher.
She was a tough teacher. I mean, she, in her own way, is still a tough teacher.
Yes.
Because she's doing that Bible class. Okay, so back to Abbott Elementary. Delightful show. Mm-hmm. It's in its third season. Emmy Award winning. Created by Quinta Brunson, who also stars in it. She is a delight. Love her so much. So happy that this show is being recognized for the great work that it is. It just is so enjoyable. So it came back with a double episode called Career Day, Career Day Part 1 and Career Day 2, I guess, or something like that. And they were so cute. They incorporated a bunch of cameos in there. So, I mean, that was a great way to start off this new season. They did this time jump because of the writer's strike. They were delayed. I don't even know if it was necessary. I don't think people were like wondering how they were going to be like, oh, is this not the beginning of the school year? Or but they acknowledged it in a very cute way because it's a faux documentary, that
kind
style.
Kind of in the style of The Office.
Correct. So they acknowledged it in a way that was very aware of the documentary crew, which was a cute way of doing it. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a very funny little
So
bit.
this was the first time they did that?
They acknowledge that the documentary crew is there all the time. They never say them by name or show them on camera or anything, but the characters in the show acknowledge that there's this documentary crew there. Mm-hmm. So the way they dealt with the time jump was that the documentary crew was not there for kind of a funny reason. So
I'm assuming it's because they won some awards and they were going on a tour of all the the interviews that they had to do and they couldn't come back.
No, unfortunately it's not that.
Oh.
It was very cute. So anyway, they're back. And the documentary crew is there for this beginning of Career Day. And they did something that they don't normally do, which is they start at one point and then do not a flashback, but they jump back to like 5 months before. But Quinta Brunson's character starts to work for the district. She gets a fellowship, I think it might be. They brought in some new district people, and I wanted to shout them out. They were so cute. It was 3 young people who are now working for the district, and our main teachers at Abbott Elementary are sort of not excited about district people because they've had bad experiences. They feel unsupported as teachers.
Right.
That's one of the running themes in the show.
Well, yeah, it's a public school in the middle of a kind of a lower economic neighborhood. And so they're fighting for everything they have. And it shows that the teachers, quite honestly, are supplementing the classroom with their own money. And that's why with the documentary crew, you're like, what's the end goal here? Are we having a GoFundMe? Are we raising money? Like, what is happening here? I mean, so they face challenges for sure.
Yes. So they're skeptical of this new district group that comes in. So our main cast, which is Tyler James Williams, who is fantastic, Janelle James, who has a great arc as the principal who now has a different work ethic, which is kind of funny. Mm-hmm. Lisa Ann Walter, who is amazing, Shirley Ralph, Chris Perfetti, and William Stanford Davis. That's the core cast that we're all super familiar with. And then this group that comes in from the district Oh my gosh. Like each one of them I knew from somewhere else and I was so excited to see them. So it was Josh Segura, which wasn't he in She-Hulk? I remember you called him out for
sure.
he was great in that. And then recently I saw him in Big Door Prize, which I talked about on the show. So he's great. And a couple other actors that I recognize from one from Atypical, which she's fantastic, and then another one from Never Have I Ever. And they were great. So I'm very excited that it's back. And I think this career day, the funniest element of it is the character who plays the janitor, William Stanford Davis. They give him just like a great story to deal with. So that's very fun. He's got a lot of backstory that they get into. I just am very excited that it's back, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's on ABC, so I typically record it on my DVR, but it's also available on Hulu.
Oh.
And ironically, it's a good thing it's available on Hulu, because the day that it aired, and I recorded it, I went back to watch it, and there was a flood warning. So the whole beginning was like all the audio was wiped out, and it was like that siren, and then like all of the flood information. I was like, the whole first 5 minutes was just like gone. I was like, oh no.
I don't know if there's a better show for that to have happened on. A school show that's having an alarm go off that you can't stop for like the first 5 minutes of class. Like, well, did you learn anything, everyone? No? Great. Let's do it over.
You're like, I don't care, Mother Nature. Where's my show?
I know. It was kind of funny because it was also like it was over at that point. It was like the next day. So I didn't need this flood information.
I mean, in LA, we quite often have what is a high-speed chase happening and breaking news. And I mean, I just recently had a friend do an interview during a show, which was very exciting for him. And in the middle of it, they broke out to a high-speed chase.
No.
And they cut back, and that was good material and a good laugh. But I mean, those in LA, because we have a lot of freeways, can last a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, flood warnings, breaking news, high-speed chases, it happens.
Yeah. The flood warning was not as typical for Los Angeles, but we did have some torrential rain. So
you were able to catch it then on Hulu?
Yes. So thank goodness you have that option, because in this case, I needed it. So, all right. So that's it on Abbott Elementary. Everybody watch it. Season 3. Love it, love it, love it. What, John?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You got to stay on mic.
Uh-oh, I'm getting in trouble. Okay. Am I all right, is that better, John?
Your grade on staying on the mic is a C.
A C or a D or an
No,
F?
no, you need to see the mic to be on. I can't see it. I'm not on the mic.
It was easier when we wore headphones because we could definitely tell if we were not on
I miss
mic.
the headphones.
I kind of do too.
Also, I didn't feel like I had to do my hair so much.
I'm
It was
just
like
letting-
it was a headband. It was kind of like, ooh, okay,
Yeah, don't worry about it. I got my headphones on. I know. Now I'm just like curly hair crazy, and
Yeah.
I can't hear that I'm.
Yeah, why don't
rotating
we don't
around
wear
the
them,
mic.
but you guys do?
Because we're doing quality control, whereas you guys are talking to each other a lot.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Bring them back.
We can bring them back.
You want to wear a headset? Go for it. You and
What?
The only one
Just
not
you.
wearing it is Katherine.
And I'm the one messing it up too. So okay.
The only one not wearing it is Katherine.
Man, did we record this in 3D stereo sound?
That's
for
pretty
everyone?
amazing.
Spatial audio.
Oh my
Sick.
goodness.
Stay on the mic.
I do wonder with Abbott Elementary if they're going to have sort of a wrap up interesting element like they did in The Office. At a certain point, you're like, where's this documentary going to go on The Office? And the last 1 or 2 episodes, there was a blurring of the lines where you saw some of the documentary, filmmakers, and it was going to be like on a PBS type of show, like An American Life or, what the working world looks like.
I still feel like that is something that they need to explore. A full 2-hour documentary, quote unquote, special from all of the seasons of The Office. Give me that. You promised me that you were making it. You made 10 seasons of the stupid show, and then I
Yeah.
never got the actual fake documentary about the stupid paper company. Give it to me.
That'd be amazing. A 2-hour movie that is the documentary of The Office.
I would love that.
What, John? You disagree?
No, I just, how would the story be different? I don't know.
Very different.
Obviously, you would tell the story of the paper company and it's falling down and the whatever's happening with it now with the context of 10 years worth of interviews. It's never going to be the personal relationships or the stories or the love relationship. Think about any documentary of a company you've seen. The owner of the company is a jerk, But yeah, he has a personal life. We don't follow that story. So I would be interested to see what they would do with it.
Yeah, I do like when they film a documentary crew filming, which they just did in this week's episode of The Feud, which is the Capote versus the Swans. And it's the famous brothers that had done the Grey Gardens documentary.
Oh,
so
wow.
The Malays brothers, I think how you pronounce it. But they were a team of brothers who did one of the most recognized documentaries of all time, which is Grey Gardens. It's been spoofed. It's been everything. And it is funny to watch Truman Capote trying to manipulate these documentary filmmakers into filming certain things. I mean, it's just, and I'm like, yeah, where was that documentary? Because Truman Capote, once again, is a total jerk in it. Like, you're showing things and saying things you should not be saying. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, my gosh. I wonder if it is somewhere.
I did not do the immediate, when you're watching something, you're like, what are they talking about? Google, Wikipedia. I did not do that because I was mesmerized. But you're right. I wonder if it does exist because, like I said, they are very well-known documentary filmmakers.
Yeah,
So-
I can't imagine that they made it and it didn't. I know. You want to look it up right now, even though that's not what we're talking about. But
I need to know.
All right, well, I have one pitch for Abbott Elementary.
Okay.
It's not going to be the right answer because it's a story about more the teachers than it is the kids, but a graduation.
Not like 90210, Beverly Hills 90210. When those kids graduated, it was like now we're following some off to university, some to junior college, some that didn't go away at all. Wah, wah. It was based around the kids. The teachers don't leave.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, Ed.
yeah, it's definitely
But-
much more teacher focused. It's almost never a student story that we're following in Abbott Elementary. So timeline wise, it's open forever.
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
It might be our prediction market now. Maybe the main character, she moves on.
That's often the way you wrap up a show.
Yeah.
Whoever the main character is moves on in some fashion. All right, so Abbott Elementary, we're done with that. Okay, wow. That was a little bit of a side note just because I was moving around the mic. Okay. The other thing I wanted to give a shorter mention to is another ABC show that just came back, Not Dead Yet. This is a very fun show. It's in its second season. So this is, again, ABC, also available on Hulu. It follows this young woman character played by Gina Rodriguez, who most people would know from Jane the Virgin.
Oh, I saw promos for this. Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
it's really cute. We talked about it before, or rather, I talked about it before when it first aired, the first season. It's like kind of a magical premise where this young woman, played by Gina Rodriguez, is kind of trying to refigure out her life. It's not going great. She comes back to her writing career that she, for one reason or another, had abandoned or was doing something else. And she can really only get a job writing obituaries. And it turns out she is also seeing the ghosts of whoever she is writing the obituary for. So what I love about this premise is the guest stars that they have, because every week she's writing a different obituary, which is a very funny gimmick, and there's a different ghost every week, which is great. So they had some great guest stars last season. They already are slated to have a lot of great guest stars this season. So the first guest star that they had is actually a crossover with one of the main cast members. So the main cast is Gina Rodriguez, her best friend, which is Hannah Simone from New Girl.
Nice.
I know that you guys are big fans of New Girl. Then also Josh Bandy, who was in Upload, who I love. Lauren Ash, who was in Superstore. And then also she has a roommate played by Rick Glassman, who I am a fan of. He is a man on the spectrum and does a podcast and is also an actor. So I because my son has autism, I'm very aware of him and love seeing him on the show. And he plays a character with autism. So it's, I love when that happens and when they do that. So, already this season, guest star wise, they've had a crossover because Lauren Ash from Superstore, they had a crossover with the first ghost is Nick Santo from Superstore. So that was fun because you're like, oh, I miss seeing them together on Superstore, and now we get a little bit of a.
That show is dead, so.
Oh my gosh.
And then also, not a ghost, Brad Garrett playing Lauren Ash's dad. So, or Lauren Ash's character's dad. So that was great. And he was real curmudgeon-y and a pain in the butt. And it was fantastic.
I'm very happy he's doing that versus those it's like he's doing those sandwich
Oh.
commercials where he's kind of playing a mobster. Like
Yeah,
it's
he's
very
like a big sandwich. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like a brand that we really don't have anywhere that I'm aware of on the Southern California. I'm sure there's like one or two locations, but you're like, what are you doing, Brad Garrett?
I know, but I do want him to be working because he's so great.
Exactly. So I'm happy he's on like a network television sitcom.
Yeah, I just recently saw him on High Desert, which was really good. So I don't know if that's going to come back, but he was good on that. He was a kind of down and out detective. That was a fun show. Okay, so also slated to be in this season, Wendy Malick, Rob Corddry. It was just announced that Chelsea Handler and also Marla Gibbs. So, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to be ghosts because that's the format of the show, but we don't know. At this point, we don't know. But
would you call them ghost stars?
Ghost stars instead of guest stars. Wow. I love it, Ed.
If that doesn't make it
love
into the credits of the show, I'm going to be very disappointed in the creators.
That's true. They should be listed as that.
Ghost
Absolutely.
stars. I love it. Okay, so that's it on that. Just everybody should be trying to catch it because it's very light and fun and extremely enjoyable. So that's Not Dead Yet, ABC, and Hulu. Okay, Liz, what's up with you?
First of all, I was a little distracted, I'll admit it, and I did Google something while you were talking.
I did hear a little bit of tip-topping typing, but
So there was actually a documentary. It was called With Love from Truman that was by the Malays brothers. That was the famous documentarian filmmakers. It seems to be more of an interview format versus really based on the Swans and sort of the New York socialite and sort of about his book In Cold Blood.
Sounds like they knew better than him on what to tell everyone about.
Yeah, exactly. Or what to focus on. So I digress. I'm going to talk about two documentary films, both on Netflix. And actually, not that I planned it, but they're both sort of in the musical world.
oh, okay.
So the first I'm going to talk about is American Symphony, which is on Netflix.
No relation to any of the American horror things that you watch?
Very, very different, Ed. Very different. So it's a biographical documentary, 2023. It is filmed, written, directed by, edited by Matthew Heineman, and it's about the musician John Baptiste. So you may know him, John Baptiste, or you might recognize him from, he was the band leader on the Stephen Colbert Show from like 2015 to 2022. If you were up that late with his band Stay Human. I will say for myself, that wouldn't have been like if you asked me, like, where do you know him from? It was when he started to do press for the Pixar film Soul.
Oh.
So he was in charge of basically that soundtrack with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. That's an interesting combination, amongst themselves. But, Trent Reznor has become a very well-respected soundtrack, composer. So Soul came out, and part of it, Pixar, is about a man, sorry, spoiler alert, but it's been a couple of years, about a man dying and his soul fighting, basically saying, like, I'm not done in my human form yet, and fighting to come back. And there is a fantastic jazz soundtrack that goes with it because the main character that dies in the movie is a jazz musician. So they must have brought in John Baptiste to basically sort of channel all that.
Right.
And so he did interviews, and I'm like, who is this super charming, dynamic person? And I did not know that it was Stephen Colbert's band leader.
Well, I remember him from watching Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
And, that's a classic thing that they would do on a late night talk show. They have somebody that they're kind of bantering with, and that's who he would banter with, his band leader. So I know him from that, but I don't know a lot about him.
Who was David Letterman's piano playing guy for like freaking ever?
Paul Schaefer. John, get on mic. You can't say Paul Schaefer way over there.
He's doing it, Katherine.
Paul Schaefer. Paul Schaefer.
So, yes, exactly. So, and he's really John Baptiste is like a beautiful soul and presence. So immediately you sort of engaged with him. So I didn't know much about him. And then it was sort of like, once that movie left, it was sort of like, okay. But he is such a talented musician, plays multiple instruments, Juilliard educated, that, the opportunities that started to come for him was incredible. So this documentary takes place over 1 year. The year was like 2022, probably like quick turnaround because it basically came out this year. And you know who are the producers on it? The production company Higher Ground.
Oh.
Now, for those of you that immediately don't go like, what's that about? Are you going to say, Ed?
No.
You're
Go
like,
for it.
I was going to say, but I was going to let you say. Well, it's the Obamas. Because
Yes.
I just last week was talking about Rustin, and they produced Rustin.
We've talked about recently 2 of their productions, which I was going to say is Rustin and Leave the World Behind.
Oh.
They're cranking it out, people.
Good for them.
We have stories. Call us. I mean, seriously. So, this is different. It's not scripted. It's a documentary. And what happens in this year, he decides to write a symphony. So he's been performing arts at this point, his own original work, and then performing other people's songs. And it's like, I'm going to compose a symphony and perform it at like Carnegie Hall. So it's like, okay. And when you have the date set for something like that, it's like, you're going to do it.
The pressure is on.
Well, the pressure doubles, if not goes to the roof, when his wife, who he met, no joke, in band camp.
Oh, wow.
When they were like teenagers, she played the double bass. His wife, Suleika Jawad, who is herself a motivational speaker, author, columnist for the New York Times. So, this is like a power couple. Like,
Yeah.
they are happening. And she has a New York Times bestseller called Between Two Kingdoms, which is a memoir, which is about her battle with leukemia.
Oh, geez.
But she had been in remission. Even though they had dated and he had gone through that journey with her, it came back.
Oh, no.
During this year.
Oh, no.
Now, the treatment for it was a bone marrow transplant. And that is very taxing on the body to go through that, what she was doing, to do the bone marrow transplant and all the treatments with it. So they're based in New York, and she's in a New York hospital doing this while he is trying to compose the symphony.
Wow.
And it's just such an intimate look at their relationship, at the artist's struggle and the fame journey, because he has become so recognizable, so famous, so sort of like beloved, but you can get caught in that if you're not producing content. It's like you're trapped in a space. So he is feeling like he's got to create the symphony, create something new. And in the meantime, he's basically going to the hospital every day and like sleeping in a chair with his wife.
Whew. Jeez.
Yeah. So it gives you a whole new level of respect for him, them as a couple, his integrity as an artist. And like I said, so charming. I mean, good God. I mean, you just watch it and you're rooting for them. So no matter where you are in your life, you can watch this and get inspiration, because to push through, to move forward, to overcome, for both of them.
Yeah.
Her quietly in a hospital room and him literally on a stage to hundreds of people and then, to millions. And he's got to also go out and do talk show appearances and do awards. And like I said, back in this room, she's fighting for her life.
Whew.
So could not recommend it more. I think it's
sounds
won a couple
amazing.
awards,
Yeah.
on that regard. It's nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song. So I think even
So
that,
it had a theatrical release?
it must have.
It must have.
It Never Went Away is the name of the Best Original Song. And there's great moments of like where the power goes out during the Carnegie Hall performance. And it's like, what? So, I just think this year has been sort of about the composer maestro, because we just saw, the fabulous movie that was Bradley Cooper's.
I don't know why. It's also making me think of Tar, which is not really the right
I never
connection.
got a chance to bring that up when we were reviewing Maestro, that I'm like, those two should never have gotten together. Like, I would love to have seen them in a movie, but
It's good she didn't actually exist.
Although, didn't you?
I totally thought she did. I totally thought she
That
did.
was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie discussion, was that you believed that her Instagram account was real.
Yes.
And then it was like that she died.
Well, because she would bitch about her assistant. Then her assistant basically posted an IG that said she was dead. And I'm like, what? And like she wasn't even alive. Okay, so see, Kate Blanchett did such a fabulous job. I just believe this person had to exist.
Oh my God.
So
You thought it was a biopic instead
I
of
did.
fictional work.
I did. But this is actually one that is really about two real life human beings. And in the end, you're rooting for them, but then you're rooting for the artistic journey and just the struggle of life in itself.
Wow.
And also science. You're just like, come on.
Yeah.
Cure her so these two beautiful young people can get on with their lives.
Amazing.
Because talk about the world is before them. All these opportunities, all this talent. You're like, so highly recommend that one.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Is he currently still on the Colbert Show?
No, he, I think poor Steve
I mean,
was
it
like,
seems like this would
he's-
be so much. how could you also be like your day job? Good
Yeah,
Lord.
he left in 2022 basically to go off and do this American Symphony.
Okay.
And I think Stephen Colbert was like, sad, but it's like you understand, like the baby bird needs to fly way outside the nest and the safety of it. Questlove will talk about being on Jimmy Fallon and like it's one of the greatest gigs because you just have a steady gig as a musician. Like you rarely have that. You're going to the same place, same time. You can be creative, do different music, have exposure. Like, where do you get that? So I'm sure like letting go or leaving the golden cage, flying out was probably nerve wracking. But I think the world has massively embraced him. He's almost at every award show. I mean, the camera absolutely loves him. And him and his wife were just at the Grammys this year. So I was so happy to see her there. I'm like, you're healthy enough to be there. So hopefully
That's a good
she's doing
sign,
well. Yeah. So once again, it's American Symphony on Netflix.
Sounds fantastic.
It was very inspiring. It just was very inspiring. So the next thing on the music, on the musical lane, The Greatest Night in Pop on Netflix.
Oh, yes. I heard about this.
This because the age we all were, this is 1985. It's about the making of We Are the World. Okay. This is like berserk to hear some of the background on this. You're just like, this is crazy how this came together. So we all know the song Do They Know It's Christmas, which was the charity song produced by Bob Geldof. He also did Live Aid to raise money for the terrifying famine in Ethiopia. And you have to imagine, we did not have social media at this time. So you were learning about this famine on national, you had to watch the news.
Yeah.
And you'd hear about it. It was just horrific. So Bob Geldof did Do They Know It's Christmas Time at All, which, still you hear it every year at Christmas time.
Is that the name of the song or is it We Are the World?
Do they know it's Christmas time? I can't sing the whole thing. No, We Are the World is another song.
Wait, what?
Exactly. So the Do They Know It's
This is news
Christmas?
to me.
Do They Know It's Christmas is a lot of British performers. It takes off and it's to raise money for the famine in Ethiopia, right? So basically, Harry Belafonte, Deo, he's like, wait a minute. Why are all these British, I'm just going to say it, white people raising money for the famine in Ethiopia? Why aren't my black brothers and sisters, because he really transitioned from an actor, and they talk about this in the documentary, an actor to an activist.
Right.
So this was one of those things, he's like, why isn't the black community and the black artists raising money for the famine? We need to do something about this.
Oh.
So he calls in Ken Cragen, who was like a big known, it might have been a lawyer / manager. He had a management team, I think. And he had just taken on Lionel Richie, who had left the Commodores, on as a client. So Harry Belafonte goes to Ken Cragen, like, we got to do something here. What can we do? First of all, hello. Lionel, hello.
Calls him up and
Is it me you're looking for?
Yes, it is.
So Lionel Richie answered the call. And so he's the first one in. Like, we need you to write a song. Because what a lot of people don't know, even though he's the singer of the Commodores, he had written tons of songs during the Motown days. He is a prolific songwriter. So they're like, come on, and they were trying to get Stevie Wonder to write the song. But I guess Stevie Wonder, was very difficult to get a hold of. He was not answering the phone, not returning phone calls, and I don't know what to do.
I did see the trailer for this, and they didn't think he was going to show up on the day of.
Multiple people, I thought. So
anyway, I don't want to. It sounds amazing,
especially because this is sort of our era.
I remember this happening.
Obviously. Behind the scenes and how this came together is berserk. So they bring in Quincy Jones. And Quincy, because, you might know him as a world-renowned music producer, did the Thriller album with Michael Jackson, among multiple other things. He's like, well, let me talk to Michael. Maybe he'll co-write this with you. So the writers of the song are Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson.
That's
produced by
crazy.
Quincy Jones. What? So they're like, how are we going to get all these people in a studio?
And that's the We Are the World song.
Yeah, so it's two different songs, Katherine.
I really didn't track that. What, John? I didn't know.
It's all right. In a couple minutes, we can go over this again.
Okay.
I will say, because the music videos that came out for both those songs were very similar. It was just a plethora of amazing musical artists crammed into a room with headphones on and singing. So I could see, I actually was like, wait, it's two different. Oh, of course.
It seemed like the same thing. I don't know.
It's not, because the video in some ways was all around the same year. They just meshed together. And he's like, no. They were two separate things. So they're like, when can we pull this off? And they realize almost everybody's going to be in town for the American Music Awards. So they're like, we have to do it the night of, but after.
Oh,
and have everybody like come by. So
amazing.
I mean, it is just like the craziest night. It took place in January of 1985, and they all cram into like a studio in Los Angeles. And leave your egos at the door was one of the big things. Starting around 10:30 at night, the list of people that participated was insane. And it was like, I don't know, you might be there till 3:30, 5:30 in the morning. We're figuring out harmonies. We're trying to do all these type of things to make it work in the moment. But the list of like participants: Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, Michael Jackson, a lot of the Jackson brothers, Billy Joel, Cyndi Lauper, Huey Lewis, Steve Perry, Diana Ross, Bruce Springsteen, Tina Turner, Stevie Wonder did show up. And I was watching this, I'm like, good for you, Sheila E. Well, poor Sheila
yeah.
E. So she had been dating Prince at the time. I mean, and she was well known at the time. And I think it did have like a hit written by Prince out. When she got in the room, she realized like, oh, I think they wanted me to bring Prince, and I know he's not coming. Oh my God, this is kind of awkward.
Oh, no.
They're like, come on, Sheila, call Prince. See where Prince is at. Come on, can you get a hold of Prince? She's like, yeah.
Oh, no.
And Prince, I guess, was like, oh, I could never sing in a room like with everybody. If you can give me a guitar solo in the other room. They're like, we cannot deal with you right now. I
Oh,
mean, they
geez.
should have made something work with
Some
him.
concession.
I mean,
but-
like the Pointer Sisters were there, like Kenny Loggins and like Kenny Rogers. So two Kennys, I think I said one of them already before. But like Smokey Robinson was in the chorus. And then like you have people like Dan Aykroyd. Like, really?
What?
But I guess Bob Geldof did come.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, wait, also back to the Prince part of it, didn't Huey Lewis end up taking, because they had assigned different parts to different people. So Huey Lewis basically was
Yeah.
like, he ended up doing the Prince part on the day.
with Cyndi Lauper and Kim Carnes. Talk about a lot of raspiness, but and there's a great meme. They show Michael Jackson in his full like bejeweled military type of coat, a glove, I think, and like his glasses, and you know they're a different singing style than him, those three, and they're like hitting all these like like notes, and he is just like. But a lot of people say Huey Lewis created like the harmony or like one of the melody moments of it. So you're like, I mean, I do like that moment. I think it sounds great. And Cyndi Lauper, I guess management was like, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And then somebody grabbed her at the AMAs or somewhere was like, you got to do it. So she came, and it's like actually like, you know, when she gets in there, it's like a very good moment. So it's just because it's 1985 and just how this happened. For example, like Bob Dylan had a very hard time even singing his part, and there's an interesting story how that he gets it out of him involving Stevie Wonder. So it's just incredible how it all came together and ended up raising like tens of millions of dollars for African relief. And some of it was through merch, and I think it won like tons of Grammys that year too.
Amazing.
So, you know, it's a commercial project that obviously had a heart and a message behind it. And Lionel Richie, he's like the narrator throughout, like providing like such fascinating insight. I mean, and you're like, God, that guy's so talented. So the greatest night in pop.
I have a
It's
question.
So fascinating.
It sounds amazing. So it's obviously interviews contemporary,
Yes.
talking about that time.
Right.
They shot enough footage that they could have done a documentary. Like, why did they wait so long? That's so interesting. Maybe they just shot it because they were shooting the video, stringing it together with interviews and that footage.
Yeah, that's
Really
basically
smart.
So there's found footage, and it's also footage that is, say if they're talking about a particular artist or Lionel Richie is reflecting upon something, they will show other footage.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just reliant, although how ingenious of them, but I think it was because do they know it's Christmas? They done something similar where they got them in the recording studio and they just filmed it. They filmed it.
Yeah.
So, and you're talking about hours upon hours. It went from like 10:30 at night to like morning hours.
Yeah.
So
They
there
had a lot of
was
footage
a lot
to
of footage.
work with.
Yes, exactly. So really fun, especially of a certain age. Like my
Yeah.
son who's 15 walked in and was like, who's that? And it was like, he was
Which,
like,
of course, we are like, I know every single person.
oh, yeah. And the person he asked about, I was like, oh, God. Like, I failed as a parent. That you
Do I
don't
really wanna get
it
into
was,
that?
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
going to say it. Bruce Springsteen. Like,
Oh,
he didn't
no.
know who it was.
Oops.
So, yeah. And I will say people really did put their ego aside. And it was an awesome blend of, you know, just heavy hitters in the industry.
I'm not surprised that he didn't know who the boss was, given, the household that he lives in. You're the boss.
Shh. No, there's a couple Bruce Springsteen songs you need to have in your repertoire of life. So I've got some work to do, people.
Yeah, get on it, Liz.
There you go.
Okay, awesome. All right, Ed, you're up. What's going on with you?
Oh, me? That's John's bit. I actually have things in both of those categories. The reality behind the scenes, crew that you could see you're not supposed to see, and music. I don't know how I ended up in
did that
both
happen?
of your
Okay,
lanes.
interesting.
My bad. I'm going to bring up the shorter, older one first that's more music related. Lyle, Crocodile. From 22, so a little old, but we talked about it on our Family Dynamics podcast because we had like a book that we thought maybe was that we couldn't remember.
It was not.
And it wasn't, and we spent 10 minutes trying to figure that out. But part of that was there's a movie coming out. I'm like, I'm kind of interested in that. I don't mind a computer-generated animated movie where like a character is in the real world, so it's all composited, but it's also a cartoon. So they're
like
going to do
Paddington Bear.
Yeah, exactly like Paddington Bear.
Okay.
So this one was about Lyle the Crocodile, which came from a book written originally by Bernard Wauber. I wouldn't have guessed that.
No.
I don't know that name.
I don't know him.
He's not a well-known household name. But it's the classic, performer or musician or whomever finds a magical animal that can sing, and then he tries to take it on stage, and what does it do? It shuts up.
Oh, no.
And ruins your career.
Oh.
I did not know I was getting Javier Bardem or that he was going to be singing.
What?
I mean, I kind of understood this was going to be a musical going into it from the trailers. I'm like, that'll take me a little while to get fully up to speed on animated and singing. Not that most animations don't sing, but like the main character is a singing crocodile. So that's going to be a lot of singing. Okay. But Javier Bardem plays like the magician that finds him originally. They have a great full 10-minute intro sequence, and then he's got to bail because Lyle doesn't sing. So he runs out of money.
Oh, no.
It feels like it was set in the 1920s or the 30s when the magician was trying to bring an act with him to stage. But the stage that he's on is like America's Got Talent.
Oh.
So he's in the wrong era. Then he's got to go because it doesn't work out. And then they give us, it's been 18 months. I'm like, well, yeah, because the life of the crocodile is what we're actually abiding by. Not and then this house sat there for 50 years and did nothing.
I thought a crocodile had a long life, Ed.
It can, but we're getting in on the infancy and then immediately catching back up with he went to go solve his money problems for a year and a half, 18 months. Not he left and then this crocodile grew up and now we're dealing with an adult crocodile. It's still a teenager or kid crocodile.
So it starts as a young kid crocodile, and now we're got a singing teenage crocodile.
Teeny baby crocodile that grows up very quickly. And then it ends up staying in this house that Javier Bardem's character had to let go of, which then is how he becomes the pet and friend of and the rest of the story. And I don't want to give anything away. There's lots of singing, but it was mostly that I was not expecting Javier Bardem. Okay, fine. But I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get an animated crocodile. But I also got Scoot McNairney, which is one of my favorites. He was in a TV series called Halt and Catch Fire, which is a terminology phrase, which I really love that they use that as the name of the show. But then it was all about the technology that they were making and creating in the 80s when computers were up and coming, and personal computers. Scoot's character arc, although not perfect because he makes some mistakes along the way, I really did enjoy his character arc in that. So getting to see him do more stuff that isn't all techie and weird and almost no one watched is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
He's out there being a dad. It's great.
I watched Halt and Catch Fire. I really liked it. It was a great series. He was great in it. He was a dad character, but he was one of the cornerstones of tech trying to move forward on, I don't want to get too into it, but they were basically trying to create a search engine and they kind of get,
They
bit.
had a couple different iterations of what they were doing.
It was the not funny version of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It was more serious.
It would be Silicon Valley's
my
prequel
God.
of making all the computers the first time.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to make a modem and make the internet.
Oh, how anxiety-inducing, because Silicon Valley, every episode you're what went wrong again?
Yeah, they would always
it didn't
just
work.
step in it. And it was just, So
just a couple other shout-outs that I wanted to bring up in this. Although I'm a big fan of SNL, and there's been a couple new episodes, and you should probably tune in and catch them because they're fresh and they're new. Ego Nwodum. She's short but great in this. I like her as like the agent that she played.
She's great. I love her.
And then Brett Gelman plays the irritated neighbor, and he is pretty great as an irritated neighbor. Generally, that's like kind of the character mode that he gets, somewhat funny, but also very irritable.
Yeah, you guys might know him from Stranger Things.
Oh, he's fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
And who plays Lyle?
The voice of Lyle is Shawn Mendes.
Oh,
which
and
both
he's
the
singing.
acting and the singing?
Oh, I think he did both. I think I did hear that. He did the
I mean,
the
it would make
voice
sense
and
that
the
he's going to
singing.
do the singing.
But it was very
I just
poppy
didn't know.
and-
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't quite recognize that. It's not Justin Timberlake, but it could have been.
I mean, disclaimer, I do know it's directed by two guys, Josh Gordon and Will Speck, and I do know Josh Gordon.
Nice.
I didn't see it in the movie theaters, though.
Well, where's
I
it
hadn't
available,
seen it.
Ed? Yeah.
It's available on Netflix right now.
Oh,
right,
okay.
cool.
Great.
All right, so that one covers the music lane that I crossed over with you guys in. Now the behind-the-scenes reality TV crew situation show thing that's happening. I watched the new movie, Self-Reliance.
Oh, I watched it too.
Oh, go figure. Written and directed by one of our all-time favorites, Jake Johnson.
From
New Girl.
We got another New Girl mention on the show.
And produced by Lonely Island, which now tracks why Andy Samberg was also in the movie.
Yes, Lonely Island from Saturday Night Live. They used to do the shorts.
Yep.
Which Andy Samberg was a member of Lonely Island the whole time. He just was more the front-facing.
Yep. And Jake Johnson is the lead in this. So write, direct, and act. Very similar to what he ended up doing with his character in New Girl, where he was a writer and then he kind of like actually had to get out there and sell it and pitch it to people. And then I think they ended with it actually having a show or something, but he wasn't in that. He was just in whatever. That's too meta. I can't
I'm like, what?
Unravel. all
We're
that.
on a New Girl like side tangent. Okay, but yes, go on.
And just a couple other stars that were also in it with him. His two sisters, Mary Holland and Emily Hampshire. You would know Emily from Schitt's Creek.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
I don't want to say that they are the irritated sisters who just disbelieve their brother and whatever he's going through. That I have any correlation or experience with that. I don't understand what he's going through.
You can't relate to having annoying sisters at all? I don't know what you mean.
I have no idea what you're referring to. I didn't say that. But they play great sisters. They're really enjoyable. And without ruining the plot of the movie, there seems to be a not fully understood plot point through the whole movie. Is Jake losing his mind? Is the character Tommy, played by Jake, losing his mind? Or is he truly experiencing what this story is and what they're telling us? Because we're not sure. And he could be hallucinating some of these things, including an entire, as he dubs them, ninja reality crew that are just hiding cameras everywhere and have all sorts of skills. So that crew was great. Them showing up in the middle of nowhere was like if your theater friends, that was their full-time job, was just being in full black, hiding in the corners, and then secretly coming out exactly when all the furniture needs to move.
Yeah, they just reveal out of nowhere, which is a great bit. I found it to be extremely enjoyable. It was a really good movie.
It's a movie versus a series.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Great.
Yep. And the last three that I wanted to mention is his co-star, Anna Kendrick. Fully enjoyable, classic Anna Kendrick. She's on board for the mischievous activities and then kind of like bails when it gets a little too serious. Oh, all right. But her mother and Tommy's mother, those actresses have been around a while, and they're pretty freaking amazing.
I love those actresses. One of the mothers in particular, Nancy Lehan, I think maybe she was in People of Earth. And she, I mean, I will use any excuse ever to bring up People of Earth because it's one of my favorite shows. But she is great in that. And then when there's two mothers.
Miriam
so
Flynn.
Yeah, she's, I mean, both of the
she
mothers.
does great.
I'm like, I love it.
They did a great job playing mothers. I could have used a whole lot less of the real plot line and just like a whole side plot of the two moms being worried about their son, their adult son, who just hasn't gotten his life figured out yet.
Yeah, it was Jake Johnson's mom, or his character's mom, and then also Anna Kendrick's mom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were hilarious.
Although lovely and supporting mothers of not quite having figured it out 30-something-year-olds.
Yeah.
which, that's nice to see.
Yeah.
That's still being written.
It resonates. Yeah. Okay.
I just want to mention the actor who played the husband of one of the sisters, Daryl J. Johnson. He was so funny. I mean, also, like, they wrote him such a great bit to do. He was great. And then, were you going to mention any of the other? There were some real surprise little.
There's only one other shout out that I wanted to throw down, and it's like I just recognize him, and I've so loved that he was in a funny but like kind of serious. His character was one of the hunters, and Ila Volok, which nobody would recognize his name, but he was in Full Circle recently, and he usually plays a bad guy. So to see him like kind of play a light character, I enjoyed that.
Which one was he?
He was the Mario.
Oh, I was going to guess that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I do want to shout out some of the other people that I loved in it just because they were great. So Natalie Morales is in there as his ex-girlfriend. She was great. We also get a little bit more than a cameo from Christopher Lloyd, who was really good. And then one of the head production assistant ninjas that you had mentioned before was Eduardo Franco, who had a great arc and presence in Stranger Things, so people know him from that. He's got real long hair.
Yeah.
He's great. And then maybe I shouldn't even say Wayne Brady. There's a teeny.
Oh, okay.
There's multiple mentions of Wayne Brady that are very funny. So awesome, Ed. Thank you. John, you're up. What you got?
Well, I went to the theater again
Nice.
and saw The Iron Claw.
Oh, the Iron Claw. Okay.
Yes. Well, it's certainly not happy. And unfortunately was shut out of the Academy Awards. It was listed as a National Board of Review's top 10 of the year. It's about a true story that is incredibly sad. So it makes sense that the movie is incredibly sad. The Von Erich wrestling family, which kind of came to prominence. Well, I mean, the dad was wrestling earlier, obviously, but then what this is about is his, in the movie, 4 sons. In reality, there were 5. And in the kind of late 70s, early 80s, they're finally becoming adults and having some success, and then also having some tragedies.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that 5th son was just another tragedy that was cut.
No.
So it's really incredibly sad. Great performances, in this story from Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, and the dad, Holt McCallany, as well as the mom, Maura Tierney. It's a crazy story about this family that's really very sad to watch. And the director who did Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, he's quite good. So it's very good if you're willing to go through it.
Oh, okay.
That's the review that I saw. I saw someone like, I'm going to go see Iron Claw. It's about wrestling and guys. And then, cut to immediately him coming out of the theater. I'm going to call my brother.
Yeah. I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Because the trailer is not really indicating that it's that much of a heart-wrenching situation.
The trailer gives you a little bit of a clue, I think, but yes, it doesn't reveal that it's basically just all heart-wrenching.
Oh.
And, they have moments that are good, but they're quickly eclipsed, or, really you don't get to savor them very much. I mean, it's funny, the one brother, Jeremy Allen White, as Kerry, he did win a national championship in wrestling at some point.
Oh, wow.
And then immediately had a motorcycle accident. I mean, that night.
What?
And lost his foot.
Oh, my gosh.
You need that in wrestling.
It's wild. They, obviously dramatized this, him kind of getting back in the ring with his brother, Zac Efron, and getting him right. And he really does. He then has not more success, but like kind of in the heyday of wrestling of the 80s, because, national televising, I think, not changed things, but it also consolidated. There were so many different, federations. So Kerry did have some real success, even unfortunately after this accident.
Wow.
However, then he didn't feel good about that later.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he is no longer with us. Oof. So, yeah, it's like, well, that was a great moment, and then not so great.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So it is quite good. But again, if you're willing to go through it.
Well, I remember seeing press about Zac Efron because, he will do extremes for roles physically, and people are like, what is going on with him?
Yeah,
and
he
his
looks
hair
very
and
different.
so
Yeah.
built out.
Oof, wow. The first shot is him getting out of bed, like, in the morning, and it's just, like, on his body, and you're like, this is a different Zac than we've seen before. I mean, you've seen him in shape, obviously, a million times, but there's like, oh, wow, you are a different person.
Yeah, he's super bulked up.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. it's it's unfortunately he's a little bit more bulked up than the rest of his brothers, but whatever, they're in good shape too. It's fine. They talk about that because also they had there's a couple real wrestlers sprinkled in there, and then it's obviously about a real story and about all these real things. So they had real wrestling consultants in there, and they're like, wow, these guys really went for it. They did what they were supposed to do. It's incredible the work they did, and some of the real moves that you're seeing, and Zach is constantly jumping off the top rope. So then also just talking about, I forget which actor I read that said this, but like he was such an inspiration because he'd be, we're doing these moves, we're doing these practices, and they'd be like, all right, I got to get a quick meal in. Because, when you're at that level of bulk, like you got to eat a ton too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you got to be constantly feeding that furnace.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see because it's like, wow, this is for wrestling, which is not entirely real. They really went for it.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
The other one, unfortunately, much less serious. I did watch, I guess I should have the total number of times that I rewatch things. That'd be fun, but I don't. But if you haven't seen Geostorm.
Geostorm. Okay, I want to institute like a new segment where John does like a throwback of, because he's a big fan of rewatching things.
Who, me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Geostorm. Okay, when is it from? Tell us about it.
It's from 2017.
Okay.
And Dean Devlin directed and wrote it. And we know he's got some classics. So, look, it's worthwhile, people.
You love a Gerard Butler.
I didn't think that I did.
You do.
But I really do.
Because what's that one series that he does?
We can't talk about it right now because I'm going to talk about it later.
Okay, well, hold on.
I mean, just so many Gerard Butler.
You're a fan.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, when a movie star is doing what you want them to do and the rest of the movie around it works, then it's like, well, this is very satisfying. So yes, Gerard as a kind of a space engineer.
Wait, it's not a musical?
No. And he, is kind of a smart aleck and is constantly getting himself into trouble, but he's a know-it-all. But generally he's right. Is kind of like, wow, that really works for Gerard.
That's the perfect Gerard spot.
Yeah. Because, yes, we're not quite in the 30-something Gerard who's going to constantly beat everyone up. Not that I don't enjoy that also, but this is the different one where he doesn't really have to beat people up. So that was fine. I think Andy Garcia as a president is fantastic. He was great. Ed Harris as a political person who, shall remain unsaid what he did or didn't do was very good. So look, the list goes on of reasons why you should watch this.
Okay, so if you had to estimate how many times you've watched Geostorm, what would it be?
So if it came out in 2017, and sadly we live in the future of 2024, it's not that I've seen it twice a year since then, but we were probably into double digits now, I would say.
Wow. Do you have it memorized, or is it just... No,
okay. Double digits, I would say low end 7, high end 12.
Oh my God.
Look, you guys want to watch a television show that you haven't seen before. I'm like, well, I want to watch something that I'm familiar with, and I can maybe watch in multiple pieces, and I don't have to worry that I've interrupted the flow.
A little background watching, too.
No, I don't do background watching. You force me to do that, which is tough. But look, it's got Robert Sheehan, who we love.
We do.
From Umbrella Academy. It's got Zazie Beetz as hilarious. Zazie Beetz comes in and kills it in her 4 scenes. But she is so irritated with these characters and so funny.
Where are you watching this?
Oh, it's everywhere. I don't know. I think it's on HBO right now.
Nice.
I can't remember.
I kind of want to go watch
Robert
it.
Sheehan is in it.
That's what I said.
I do like him. Okay, you're right. And Andy Garcia, you can never go wrong.
Yeah, even Richard Schiff, you get a little West Wing connection in there as another political person.
Okay.
I honestly think he has one scene. It's a long scene, and he's very serious.
John, what is the story of Geostorm? What is happening?
How can you not put it together by the title?
What's a Geostorm? I don't know what a Geostorm is.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things that a Dean Devlin movie sometimes maybe is not the most exciting part of it, but a geostorm is when there's many, serious storms around the world, and they could combine to create a world-spanning storm, a geostorm.
It's unprecedented. natural disaster type of movie.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's weird. Actually, this one is really a movie with a message. Because they're like, hey, severe storms have increased. Then we did something. We created this, I forget what it's called, but it's like a network of satellites and then a big space station to manage and then stop severe storms. But unfortunately, then nefarious people try to take advantage of it.
Nefarious
geez.
people. Why nefarious people? Are you always trying to take advantage of things?
And then they figure out that because there was this thing about these storms could turn into a geostorm, but actually they're causing it to do that, which is bad. But they do stop it. And look, a lot of things happen, and some of them are bad. I mean, there were severe storms that killed people. It was sad.
I guarantee my husband has seen this. Guaranteed.
That's an interesting.
He likes a atmospheric disaster.
Yeah, what's the day after tomorrow? No, what's that one?
There's so many.
With
Day
the
After
Jake
Tomorrow,
Yeah,
yes.
I love that one with Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, that's a good
Yes,
one.
That's very good. You should watch that again many more times, as I have.
I background watch that one a lot. Sorry, John.
So there you go. That's you don't need any more story than that.
Yeah,
that's great.
Shockingly, John, who does not watch trailers, gave away a lot right there.
But he's also selling it. He wants to make
Right.
sure
It's
that
an
we know to go
archival-
watch it.
it's an
I am
archival film,
intrigued.
so-
I'm going to go watch it.
I do like when it's like the actor or the scientist, or like the movie starts out and they go out and they like look up at the sky and they're like, wow, that looks different.
Yeah, that's
And
not
there's a
what's
little
happening.
breeze in their hair and you hear
Nope.
like rustling leaves and you're like, holy
Nope.
shit. Oh, no?
No. I
No,
mean,
I'm not
this
gonna watch it
isn't
then.
content. Yeah.
you should have just said yes, because now she's not going to watch it, John.
You can't convince her to watch things.
Or
Yes.
is he a scientist at a keyboard and looking at different type of, it's
Simulations.
Wait, this isn't
Don't say.
I'm looking at the internet and it's very stimulating. I think I've got the wrong webpage.
Am I on YouPorn? What? So wait. So then they're looking at it and it's like, wait a minute, this is live? Oh my gosh, in Alaska? What's happening?
Yeah.
John, am I more on track?
No, you were starting on track because yes, they do look at different storm simulations, but there was never a moment where like, oh, I'm confused. This is actually happening now.
When is the moment the scientist has to confront the government official and tell him to get everybody underground?
Yeah, they don't do that.
What kind of movie is this?
None of your predictions are working out, Liz.
Yeah, that doesn't even happen in Greenland, so take it easy.
I was just thinking about Greenland because that's
Greenland's a good
another
one.
Gerard Butler.
I have watched that multiple times. We can't talk about that right now, but
He is always like running for his life.
well, look, he found some successful things that he should do that we like him to do.
We like him to do it.
But yes, it's not that the scientists don't confront the politicians because they're just trying to fix it. You know what I mean?
All right,
They
we
don't
have time for it? Okay.
There's some slight confrontation that happens, but it's like down the chain of like, well, because the big, what I didn't talk about.
Okay.
So Jim Sturgis is in this, and he is Gerard Butler's brother.
Oh, okay.
And Gerard, though successful, is a wild card. So he's kind of
Of course, he's a wild card.
he's the bad brother.
Of course.
Whereas Jim Sturgis is the good brother who's been normally successful. And so he's working in politics. So Gerard has to convince Jim at some point. So that's a different way of. I can't. It's not the confrontation you're looking for. But
shoot.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm
mean,
trying to turn this into the core, and it's not.
I did like the core. I do think Gerard usually plays a little down on his luck. Something bad's happening. He's got to get back in it.
Yeah, that's an element in that.
Hey,
It's very
all
helpful.
right,
now
nailed it,
Now
Liz.
you got me into it. Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the great moments is when he gets up there and it's this German scientist who's now in charge because he used to be in charge, but it's Alexander Maria Lara, who's very
Gets up there where?
in space.
In space?
Yes.
Oh, because of whatever this thing is that's tracking / stopping, but now creating the
Yes,
storms?
correct.
Ooh, I tracked it all.
Yes,
Aren't you guys
good
impressed?
job. Storm
Okay.
Tracker. So she has some great moments where it's like, yeah, you did know everything, but now you don't because
You're old and outdated.
Ooh, wow.
So
John, really good.
You're-
We're all on board.
you're very welcome.
There's no sequel, right?
I mean, currently, don't jinx it.
Okay, I'm just saying, maybe we need to work on that.
It did make a lot of money. I looked up the box office, and it was like a budget of $100+ million, and it made like $200 million.
Dean Devlin knows what he's
80
doing.
of that was John.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Oh my gosh.
All right, awesome. Okay, so John, from now on, I definitely want to hear whatever your throwback rewatch is every episode.
If you're lucky.
I mean, if we're lucky, we're going to get some good ones. All right. Okay. So that's it for this episode. And we'll do a quick little recap. So I talked about Abbott Elementary and Not Dead Yet, both ABC shows on Hulu.
And I watched American Symphony and The Greatest Night in Pop on Netflix.
And I watched Lyle, Crocodile on Netflix and Self-Reliance on Hulu.
In the theater, I saw The Iron Claw. And apparently it's on Hulu. You can watch Geostorm.
All right, so that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching or listening, and you can follow us on all of our social media at Podcast Watching, and that's Instagram, Facebook, X,
TikTok.
TikTok. Thank you. Why can't I just get that list?
And watch us on YouTube.
And of course, watch us on YouTube. Here we are in all of our exciting glory on YouTube. All right, thank you for joining us on this episode of What We're Watching.